The Three Wise Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodu Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the three in the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to SOUQ News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, SOUQ News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. SOUQ News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, SOUQ News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. SOUQ News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
My name is Olatunji Shoti. I'm a performing artist and television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching SOUQ News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching SOUQ News. If you're not watching SOUQ News, I pity you, but keep watching SOUQ News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timmy Dakolo, and you're watching SOUQ News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko, co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at SOUQ News. Guys, keep watching SOUQ News for everything that concerns business, economy, politics, news. SOUQ News is your station.
The National Theatre, Igomu. Built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of a legendary contemporary Nigerian artist, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged FESTAC 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by Techno Expert Stroll, a Bulgarian company mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theatre complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of lush green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre, SOUQ Enlightenment.
My name is Dr. Agility Obi.
My name is Etemere Glover.
Naomi, well done, and shout out to SOUQ News.
Shout out to SOUQ News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching SOUQ News.
Shout out to SOUQ News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching SOUQ News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching SOUQ News.
Keep watching SOUQ News.
Keep watching SOUQ News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to SOUQ News for your news requirements.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the outer marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. SOUQ Enlightenment.
In the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress, welcome to SOUQ News, your source for business, economy, and development insight to drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, SOUQ News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. SOUQ News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, SOUQ News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. SOUQ News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
Hello and welcome to SOUQ Pulse. It's always beautiful on Saturdays because that is when we discuss direct people-oriented issues. And on SOUQ Pulse, you know by now, we look at and deliberate on issues that affect not just nations, but businesses, people within nations. We look at policies that affect businesses. We look at who is giving the money, who is taking it, who is losing it, and who's making the profit. We get to ask questions that affect not just Africa, but Asia, Europe. We ask direct questions and see how can we get better in your own locality. We tell you issues that are happening where we are, and we know that it's also affecting you where you are. And we feel the pulse and tell ourselves we need to sit up. It is SOUQ Pulse, and my name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks. I have with me as a guest, I have to introduce him before we start this particular topic, before I mention it to you. And he's someone that for a while we have been able to learn from his faith. You will get to understand where I'm going to. He is not just someone that is very close to us, but he is a veteran broadcaster. He is someone that has been there through time, and he has, of course, seriously impacted this profession. Please join me as I welcome to SOUQ Pulse for the very first time our own Mr. Bayo Olaoye. Sir, you're welcome to SOUQ Pulse.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much. The excitement is ours.
Yes.
It's not easy when you are blessed. That's what I'll use. When you're blessed to have people of this experience around you, and they are open and free to give and keep giving. So Africa, say thank you very much. When we have elders that have not just seen it, they've done it, they've practiced it, and they are open to teach, this is what we should hold very dear. Google is good, but there's nothing better than having the real deal and learning. Today we are looking at something that is as old as man. Yes, and not food, but something that is as old as man. Something that with time, people have come to appreciate it. With time, nations have embraced it. And in one way or the other, it has also affected people. Now, positively or negatively, we get to see nations use it as a means of growth. Others welcome. At a point in time, some will shut. At a point in time, some will also use it as a PR mechanism. What are we talking about? We're looking at migration. But we are coming from our own side of it. Migration within and outside Africa. How has it benefited us? At this point, let's talk about this year. This is 2024. Where is Africa moving? The movement around. Where are they going? Where are they settling? What is causing the movement? What exactly is making people from a particular region, be it the west, north, the south, or the east, where are they moving? Most times when we talk migration, the first thing that comes to mind is leaving Africa and heading to Europe or going to Asia. But no, let me shock you. We have more migration, positive migration within Africa. Well, you don't get to hear about it aside the kind of news you get to see from some other media outlets that is not favorable to us. But hey, don't let that bother you. So today we'll be looking at migration. How is it affecting business? How is it helping nations make sure people get to work? And at the end of the day, the person that is moving, how is he putting food on the table? His or the people he left back home? Sir, you're welcome to SOUQ.
Thank you, Chuks. Thank you, Chuks. I'm grateful. Migration, just like you said, is as old as humanity itself. And for us in Africa, migration is the bane of our development. Migration causes hunger, poverty, illnesses, religious crisis, religious uprising. And so migration has been with us. Even in the Bible, we find one set of people moving from one place to another, either to avoid enemies, either to avoid natural disasters, or to just seek for greener pastures. So migration has always been with us. And in my 49 years in this profession, I would say that there's no issue or no phenomenon that has gripped Africa as migration. It has caused disunity, it has caused poverty, it has caused illnesses, and it has caused distrust among African nations. So we have never benefited from migration. Chuks, we have never. And when you talk about migration, one concept that comes to your mind is Africans, poor Africans on a boat going to North America or South Africa.
Going to Spain.
But you find out that migration happens everywhere and causes conflict among nations. In the US, for instance, US and Mexico are still battling with migration problems. You know the problems we had with Ghanaians when they came to Nigeria during the times of their problems with the economic growth. They were here in Nigeria as a situation of migration. You also have the problem between China and Russia, between China and Turkey, evolving from issues of migration. So migration is something we should treat with care and eliminate in Africa because it doesn't benefit us. Instead, our people are being marginalized, our people are being tortured, our people are suffering.
Okay, that's when Africans migrate
to other places.
Out of Africa.
Out of Africa.
Okay, good. And majorly undocumented migrants.
Desperate migrants.
Okay, desperate. Let's look at it from that angle. Now let's come back home. We have well over, as of this particular year, we have movement of well over 3-point-something million migrants in West Africa alone. And Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria account for the highest number receiving migrants from other countries in West Africa. And you agree with me that they are moving for economic reasons. And they are not a problem. If we get to step down from the 16th floor of this particular beautiful building and cross 1,000 people, we don't care where they are from. And they are contributing their quota wherever they are. So we see people, we see our fellow Africans as long as they are not given an issue, that's not a problem. So that migration is positive.
Yes.
Typical example, a lot of the people that do the POP woodworks in Nigeria, a lot of them are from Benin.
Yes.
And they are good at it. Several places you go to, a lot of the people that fix cars, that are very good in fixing cars or doing some of the body works, are also from Benin. And they are good at it. And we all appreciate each other. Yes. And the workforce is moving, which is positive migration. So at this particular point, will you tell Africans, okay, now, we can trade within ourselves. We can share services within ourselves. Let us open the borders. West Africa is open. Now let's go beyond West Africa. Let us open our borders.
The problem, Chuks, is that there's mistrust. There's distrust among Francophone and Anglophone West Africa. And you can see it in the ECOWAS crisis we have now. Our colonial masters intentionally separated us. In other words, the Anglophone and the Francophone, they don't agree all the time. When I was in the State House with Shehu Shagari, we were at a conference in, I think, Mali or somewhere. And we knew the kind of treatment that Nigerian journalists faced from journalists in Senegal, Gambia, and the Francophone countries. They were not friendly, they were suspicious of us, and we couldn't get on easily. That in itself is distrust, is mistrust.
All because of years or decades of wrong information passed across
perception,
to them. Yes.
And the orientation by the Francophone countries that you have to be like the French. Unlike we British people, we are not so receptive. We don't take conditions as they are. We want to improve ourselves. But everything in the Francophone countries is attached to France, which does not allow for political inclusivity. It doesn't allow good governance.
Okay.
It doesn't allow economic development, and it brings tension.
Okay. Okay. Now you've gone this route. This is more like an attestation to your wealth of experience. Now let's also look at it from this route. Now some of these Francophone countries are trying to get their grip away from France. But at the same time, just like you said, they are also alienating themselves from their African brothers. What do you think we can do to pull them closer? In as much as they are trying to get better, because whatever they are trying to do, they are trying to better their economy, better their country. How can Africa pull them together?
We need proper political leadership. with the will and the determination to integrate the region itself. The politicians are not telling the people the truth. And just like in the Anglophone countries, it's happening in the Francophone countries too. Politicians do things, say things to their own benefits, and they don't care about the people. The fact that African leaders cannot unite, West African leaders cannot unite, the people will not unite. So our political leadership must work towards political integration, so that at a time we had these West African traveling papers in our own days. That does not exist anymore. And it's a shame that you want to travel from here to Ghana, you have to go with papers, when we have the West African Community, ECOWAS, which was intended to be a political forum for development and restoration of democracy. So that has failed. Our political leaders have not properly.
This particular one is coming to the table of the political leaders. Now, for a while, this has been talked about for a while. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which also had the free movement protocol. Now, if this is functional, I'm looking at it. If this is functional, which means I can get up, pick my bag, and go to South Africa. If the most difficulty, maybe when I get to the airport, they stamp me a visa on arrival. Now this is not functional. But now let's look at the benefit of having this functional. It makes it easy for African businesses to trade with their fellow African nations. It makes it easy for a visiting professor to leave South Africa or leave Zimbabwe or leave Botswana and come straight to Lagos, get his research done or study a research or read something and leave with no stress. Where can we say, let us get serious and take these things out of, take it away from the books, pages of books, and start implementing them? Because if we can achieve this direct free movement, which is still migration, then there is positivity in business for not just nations, but also for people. If people succeed, nations succeed. What should we do?
Just like I said, the political leadership must create platforms for business leaders to meet. ECOWAS has not done well in the area of harnessing our commodities. Cocoa, wheat, cassava. I mean, our basic commodities are not getting the right attention in the global market. That is what we should be facing. Even if it means that people are coming in, we should be able to regulate migration in a way that does not affect other African countries, our neighboring countries. We should be talking about trade. We should not close borders. We should exchange commodities. And we should get the right prices for our commodities now. You see what is happening to cocoa? Cocoa is growing up now.
Thanks to dollar go up.
Ghana that produces Ivory Coast and Nigeria can form a kind of consortium to push the price higher.
Okay.
That's one commodity. And wheat.
But that's why you were talking about getting the businessmen to be able to sit together.
And that is the that kind of drive will be given by the political leaders so that these captains of industry can sit down and map out strategies for our commodities to get their right prices. We cannot continue to rely on oil. That is obvious. We have to diversify. That is obvious. Okay. So the economy has to be right.
We need African moving within Africa to get things right.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's also now look at another side of it. Growing up, I had Ghanaian teachers. After a while, it was difficult to even see the Ghanaians.
I had Indian teachers. When I went to Lula College, I was taught by Indians.
Okay.
Maths, physics, biology. Although I was not good in those, but they were mostly Indian, and they were good. They were good. I mean, that shows you the level at which Nigerian has tolerated outsiders. That was in the 60s and 70s. Now, there's nothing wrong with a Ghanaian teacher coming to Nigeria or Nigeria. In fact, at the time, you know, the Chief Justice of Gambia was from Nigeria.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, and we had some of our judicial people going to Gambia to build up the judicial infrastructure. So migration has always been there, but it doesn't stop development.
Okay.
It doesn't.
So
what we need is economic reality. What are we doing with our our resources? Why is France manipulating Francophone countries, taking away their resources and giving them a sham of political governance?
Since you keep going to this side, let me ask you a question. If most of those Francophone countries that are still being held down by France, if they open their borders and allow other Africans to come in, don't you think it's easier as a bigger union to stop France from doing that to them?
The problem, again, is communication, language. We use English, they use French.
We can still talk.
We can still talk, but there's this innate misconception about each other.
At what point, can we go beyond that?
Maybe we'll go to the OAU. Maybe the OAU can do something better as regards regional cooperation, regional collaboration, and regional ties. The OAU will be in a position to unite East Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa, where there are lots of resources. Lots of resources.
Okay.
And I think the African Development Bank can help in the area of streamlining this platform so that
that's for business people, owners, yes. Business leaders,
businessmen,
movement and co.
must come together and fashion out ways out of our economic woes. And just like you said, language is not a problem, but we can communicate.
Okay. Now, we are still looking at migration within Africa, and we're asking ourselves questions. If we bond together and are able to move freely within Africa, will it make businesses thrive? And for now, that has been a positive. Now, let's take this further, because it's not all juicy or rosy for on migration. But let's still dwell here a bit. We, after the fall of Gaddafi in Libya, we are not going into that. Now, Libya became something else. For a while, we had a whole lot of undocumented migrants trying to leave Africa, and most of them ended up in Libya. Libya is an African country. The Gaddafi administration cheered a whole lot of positivities for the African Union and the Organization of African Unity. But during that period after the fall of Gaddafi, Libya turned to more like a slave camp. We saw a lot of inhuman activities in Libya where migrants were being sold and trafficked. At what point in time can you say Africa hold your own responsible?
When we talk about economic reality, our leaders must be able to bring together all the groups. You have the Chambers of Commerce, you have the Manufacturers Association, you have the capital market, you have the stock exchange. All these people should be able to come together and create opportunities for our farmers, for our artisans, and for our students. For instance, in England now, there's this nagging issue of students being gagged or being banned from bringing in relatives to study. There's also in Canada where migrants are banned from owning property. So these are issues that are mitigating against migration on the international scale. Migration in itself is not bad, because if you are seeking political, asylum, in your own distress, you can go to the country. But then migration is being abused there, because everybody is a political asylum, political refugee. Once you commit a crime in your country and you move down to the other side, that is where migration is dangerous and not beneficial to us. But people can move. People want to live in Lagos. There are so many Ghanaians and West Africans living in Lagos here, doing their jobs well, and they are not
doing their jobs well. That's like more like the catchword.
Yes.
Not just Ghanaians. All other neighboring countries.
You know that now artisan apprenticeship is zero in Nigeria now, just like you said. And we have people from West Africa coming in as mechanics, as artisans, as plumbers, as drivers, as even carpenters. Almost all artisans now, all the cadres of artisans are from neighboring Francophone countries.
And they are doing their jobs well.
To us, that is beneficial.
Okay. To them too is beneficial, because they get paid for their service.
On the flip side, it shows that people are not acquiring skills anymore. And everybody wants to be in the cities, and earn good salary and watch television. And so that is that's the danger.
Before we start looking at earning good salaries and watching televisions, he wanted it to address the Libya issue, where for a while there was a whole lot of human trafficking, and Libya was more like a port for human trafficking.
That is
what should have African leaders done?
African leaders went asleep. They went asleep while Libya was burning. And don't forget that there's this issue of fanaticism and yes, fanaticism, religious fanaticism at that time. The religious leaders were imposing all sorts of codes and conduct on people and making life very unbearable for them. So that is again is political leadership. You're telling the people, promoting violence and not looking at the economy. Nobody's bothered about economy. And there are factions there. So the factions are responsible for whatever has happened in Libya. We didn't know that other factions will mushroom from the crisis. So it's still, Chuks, a question of political leadership. We must be able to tell our people the truth and guide them well. We must be able to tolerate democracy and good governance. And just like I said, we don't need military dictatorship anymore in Africa. That promotes migration. When you become nepotic and despotic and you just brush everybody under the carpet, people will run, and that promotes migration. Okay. Still, we have to tell our political leaders, tolerate democracy, tolerate opposition, tolerate divergence of issues, tolerate good governance. Migration will reduce.
Okay. We have our own Mr. Bayo here, and you've been part of this particular lesson for today. That's what today is going to be. So we will go on a break. SOUQ Pulse will be right back. Hey, don't go anywhere. When we get back, we'll go to phase 2.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade, and later under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an armed forces remembrance cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Market, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Hello and welcome back from that short break. I hope you enjoyed those mini documentaries. We are still on SOUQ Pulse and we are looking at migration in and outside Africa. We are looking at who is benefiting. In the first half, we looked at migration within Africa, and we saw that, yes, we need those borders open. We need Africa and Africans free to move around, free to do business, free to provide services, free to study, free to be African and make Africa grow from wherever you are. If the EU can do it and insist in doing it, why can't we? And we have all the whole processed lands. If it's farming, you mustn't stay in Ghana. If you're looking for a land to farm, you can move across to Nigeria and get this done and get this job and productivity up. Now let's look at migration on another side. Yes. You want to say something, sir?
Yes. You're talking about people coming, taking their expertise to another country.
Yes.
You know, and that brings me to mind this idea that we had one time that farmers in Namibia see the fact that Africa still has resources that have to be tapped by international organizations, by experts, yes, but we must have a unity to promote the resources that we have. And seriously, we have to fight corruption.
Okay. Before we deviate, because if we start talking corruption today, let's leave corruption in.
Let's leave it.
So
yeah.
We are going now to migration outside Africa. Now, most times when you hear about migration outside Africa, the first thing that we get to see from a lot of media outside here is this that you're seeing on the screen. Like as if this is the major ways or what causes people to move out of Africa. No. Africa has fed Europe and Asia with the best brains centuries on end. So this is not the narrative that we want to keep seeing. Yes, this is there. Yes, there's a problem
Western
about this.
propaganda has never benefited
us.
Western propaganda has never benefited us. And that's what we are telling our media, young media practitioners, that when you look at a news item from the British media or from the Western media, it doesn't portray us well. So when we are taking their stories or taking their information, hook, line, and sinker, it's dangerous. We need to fashion out our own ways of writing news or development and promoting the attributes of Africans. We cannot follow Western ideas, Western ideals, Western influences. We have to be creative. Our leaders have to be creative. Migration is being pushed to us as a burden, but we can make it beneficial for all of us.
Oh, migration has never been a burden.
So
migration has never been a burden. Now let's look at this. Several Africans migrate via tertiary institution through the education route, and they get to their destination countries and they do excellently well. Now on this particular side, we talk about it. Yeah, some call it brain drain. Well, as long as it's legal. Now, for those boats that you get to see, a lot of them are undocumented migrants, and something is making them move. That is where we are coming now to, sir. People, especially in North Africa, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, around that particular hub, a lot of them move via the Mediterranean Sea to Europe. And we get to see that most of this movement is being caused by either conflict or a government that is not true to its citizens.
That's true.
Is it something you want to add? Something you're looking? There's something you want to add to that particular discourse?
You see, when you don't govern well and you oppress your people, and the means of livelihood very difficult, people will move out, even for Nigeria. So this issue of japa or whatever, if the country is not conducive, if professionals cannot practice well, they have to japa. So most of the problems we have in migration has to do with African leaders and political leaders and religious fanatics. And we have to stop that. Under different guises, under different excuses, they come and promote violence and terrorism under the guise of political asylum or whatever. Africa should tell a different story. Let's tolerate ourselves. Let's have regional cooperation. West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa. And let us remove the distrust and suspicion among us.
Okay. Let's also look at it from this angle. If we are looking at conflict in several African spots, several African states, if we look deeply, you will observe that a lot of the conflict is coming from spots where there are mineral resources. And if you also look very well, you observe that in these places where there are mineral resources and the conflict is brewing, there is also some form of Western influence in these particular places.
Yes.
So why should they complain when the people live out of fear for their lives and come over to their side?
When the political leadership has surrendered the sovereignty of the country to these outside pretenders or outsiders, that they allow them to determine how to monetize their resources. You depend on them for almost everything. And they will work in their own interests and promote whatever leadership that suits their own whims and caprices. So the political leadership too must be very careful about outside influence. And I suspect that is what is happening with Mali, Niger Republic, and the other one.
And right now in Congo, there's a conflict going on in Congo.
People are saying,
nobody's talking about it.
People are saying that Russia is behind what is happening there.
In Congo?
Yes, yes, Congo.
Okay, that's in Mali.
In Mali.
Niger Republic. Okay, that is people are saying. Now the thing is this: after the coup, although we won't go that side, but after the coup, the people there, the leadership there, the military leadership there, made a choice before they took themselves out of ECOWAS. Now their choice is theirs. Is it going to favor them? It is still theirs. Now, are we seeing this mass movement of their people away from Mali? No. But where we are seeing this majorly is Algeria, Libya, Egypt. Basically, because of the point you've raised before.
Political crisis.
Political crisis, religious intolerance. Now, they are moving towards the West. This is another issue. Now, most times when people come, they migrate, they are documented. You get to see. They come there either for economic reasons, they better your own side, they get paid, they repatriate their funds, they come to do business. Now, for this particular set, how do you know that you don't have the very bad eggs coming in?
Chuks, let's go to the issue of the US and Mexico. You know, that has been ongoing for years, that border. Okay. The US trying to curb the number of Mexicans coming to America. Under Trump, you know, Trump built a barrier.
He built a fence.
A fence.
That was part of his manifesto before he came in as president.
So that it's not so that migration is not synonymous with Africa. It's synonymous with so many countries.
So why, when they call migration, why is it Africa and the boats that come that we get to see first?
We don't have good governance. We don't have good governance, and some of our youths are desperate for greener pastures, because when those things are not there, they have to go out. It's taking a different dimension now, because people are now turning to the educational sector, sending their children to institutions, educational institutions across Africa. That is positive. That is positive. And we should encourage that. We should encourage professionals to come and practice, and if there's a political crisis, we should be able to help, but not to leave our borders and gates open for all sorts of characters in the name of patriotism or in the name of African solidarity. That's what I mean. That
okay.
The OAU now that is meeting in Addis Ababa should be able to look at the problems of migration and set up a machinery to curtail or curb it. Migration is good, but let us limit it, let us reduce it in Africa, so that we can focus on developing our industries, focus on harnessing our resources, and focus on political tolerance. We still do not tolerate each other, and Chuks, you'll be surprised at how Nigerians are treated or are snubbed when it comes to international conferences that involves francophone and anglophone something. It has got to a stage. It got to a stage where the Nigerian Union of Journalists almost wanted to make a statement on the attitude. I have attended lots of seminars and workshops across Africa in the past 49 years. Even in Johannesburg, they don't tolerate Nigerian journalists. So these are things we're talking about.
Before we get to this, okay, now we are looking at it from the professional point of view.
Yes.
Now let's now come back to Africa and now look at how migrants are treated in their host countries, where they are. We have not heard for a long period. We've not here in West Africa. We don't have issues of looking down or name calling or harming or attacking someone that is not from your country.
Yes.
We don't have that issue. Aside issues that will happen maybe at the border between you, the migrant, and the security forces of any of the nations within the border. But within the nations, we don't have that issue. But we have a lot of this issue in the southern part of Africa. And look down on migrants or people, foreigners living in their country who are also Africans.
Chuks, I think that has to do with religious fanaticism.
Okay, that's what we'll talk about. Northern Africa.
And that's going to tear Africa apart. You should be very careful about religious fanaticism, especially the ones coming down from the north. It's getting frightening. And under the name of migration, under the name of political asylum, under the name of political tolerance, these groups are coming down. And we must stop to their religious intolerance, religious fanaticism.
Okay,
all the message that comes in is violence and death. That is un-African.
It's 100% un-African.
For ages, we have been tolerating ourselves. Our great-grandfathers tolerated each other, went across the Sahara Desert, went across the trading routes across the Sahara Desert, the Kalahari Desert and all sorts. And it's now for Africa to find a solution to migration problems. Everybody moves, but in Africa, it's so tedious and so unbearable that is affecting our economy and our lifestyles.
Okay, now let's look at the southern part of Africa. South Africa, okay, typical nations come. It was just a match between South Africa and Nigeria, and we're already getting memo warning Nigerians living in South Africa not to rejoice if they win because of fear of being attacked. How can we tell ourselves that this is not acceptable?
Again, political leadership. Political leadership. You see that in South Africa, the leadership have the tendency of waiting or delaying response to issues that concern foreigners. When the Nigerian businessmen were being harassed and traumatized in South Africa, it took them a long time to respond until people were killed. So the political leaders, in their attempt to stay longer in their tenure, promote all sorts of crises and hate media against fellow Africans because they are hardworking, because they are enterprising. That's no reason to hate them. And I think that is the problem with us and South Africa. South Africans are generally envious of Nigeria. Nigerian journalists, Nigerian professionals, they don't get it well. Even Ghana here, next door here, that is Anglophone, there are here and there are still suspicion and dislike for Nigerians.
So
this perception that we call ourselves giants of Africa, we're so domineering, we're so arrogant, we're so imposing.
Can I ask a question? Are you people arrogant? Are Nigerians arrogant?
You see?
Are Nigerians imposing?
You see our traditional outfits.
Okay.
It's glamorous and very, very, very attractive, very colorful.
Okay, so let's say
And
Nigerians are loud.
and South Africans will say that you people like flowing robes and that kind of thing. But that's our culture. That's our culture. We cannot hide that. And there are so many little things that South Africans feel that Nigerians are doing that they don't like.
How can a lot of times you've always dropped this ball at the table of politicians and leaders. Now, at what point can we say, okay, media heads, heads of businesses, heads of organizations, let's get together and reach out to wherever your community is, and let's start addressing this issue. If the political heads have refused to live up to their bidding, what happens to every other leader out there? They are community leaders, they are leader head, they are business leaders.
Professionals should be up and doing. Professionals in medicine, in health, in education, in agriculture, in health, in infrastructure. We have different African professional bodies all over the place for different professions. Even we have a union of African journalists.
Okay.
At that level, we should be able to formulate a policy or create a platform where we can all come together and fashion out resolving this crisis concerning movement of goods and people. Right now in Nigeria, we have a misconception. Is the border open? It's open. It's not open. Is it open? It's not open. Government has not come out categorically and said this border is closed. Again, communication. So government must communicate and the professional leaders must come together and take a critical look at migration. Are we doing the right thing, or is the Western world not laughing at us? Are we not laughing at ourselves? Can we not tolerate ourselves? Can we not promote trade by ourselves despite differences in languages and orientation? Can we not come together?
Okay.
And for our different economies? Because the potential that the resources are there is just for us to tap them, harness them, and make them globally acceptable in foreign markets.
Okay. Now, there was a particular point you raised when you spoke about cocoa, and you talked about the West African nations. Now, there are a whole lot of other mineral resources that are here in Africa. Other countries come here to get. Some, like France, for those countries they still hold sway over, they get for next to nothing. If Africa can get her tactics, her act right, do you see a situation where we can say, okay, good, if you want to come here and get our cocoa, then don't take raw cocoa. Process a bit of it here. Don't take primary product. You can only take secondary product. Or if you take primary product, then don't bring back the refined products to us. Because we're looking at business. Like we say on this particular show, every nation is running. It's a race, and we need to race. Where and how can Africa come together and say, hey, let's throw our borders open, let's put minds together, and let's form a unit that can be strong in dealing with any other?
That is at the doorstep of the African Development Bank. That is at the doorstep of the ADB.
African Development Bank, it's more like a financial institution.
Yes, because you need the finance. We need finance.
But if you are approaching African Development Bank, you are approaching as either an organization or a nation.
As a reputable international financing organization.
Are you looking at them to be able to aggregate business leaders?
Yes, and advise them on the way forward, and make access available for them to source for funds, to build infrastructure, and to develop the
value
chain of the commodities they have. Because let's face it, we don't have these facilities, and the ADB can assist. As far as the political leadership are concerned, I am not impressed. All the majority of African leaders have money in the vaults of banks in South Switzerland, Paris, and that kind of thing. So most of Africans' money are abroad. So that's our problem.
Now,
unfortunately,
okay.
Another issue,
okay,
Chuks, which we should not run away from, is that we must stop political dictatorship in Africa. And that is what resulted in those coups that you had in those Anglophone countries. There are too many sit-tight presidents in West Africa particularly, and in Africa generally. We must promote democracy and governance. Let people take their choice. Let people take their choice. Look at what he's going on in Senegal. It's shameful. If you are served for 2 terms and people don't want you, pave the way for others, just like George Weah did in Liberia and Mahama, I think, in Ghana. So, and Jonathan in Nigeria. We must promote the ambience for good governance to emerge. Let our people choose their leaders. We cannot.
Okay. Once a nation is stable,
yes.
People
wants to move out.
People will stay,
yes,
and seek solution and do business. Okay. Now,
and our leaders and our professional leaders should think out of the box. It's not a question of just gathering every year and reading communiques. They should be able to fashion out active and realistic targets for us to get to the global markets.
Okay. I am going to ask this question because let's look at the case of Africans currently being held in camps as migrants, be it in Spain, in Italy, even in the United States. We have a lot of Africans. They're undocumented migrants. They are being held, and I don't know what promises that is going to come after that. Do you think African leaders have a part to play to say, okay, if they want to return, we can help them return? If they are looking for a way of getting settled somewhere, what part do you think African leadership should play for those set of undocumented migrants that are currently in a lot of countries out there and they don't know what tomorrow looks like?
Because of the political divisions, because of the political compartments in Africa, I will suggest that the OAU, the African Union, should take it up. Make it their responsibility that these people should be released. They can then allocate them to their different countries. These political differences and different political crises will not allow African leaders to agree on a decision, on a unanimous decision. There will always be division and distrust. Let the OAU take the bull by the horn and tell the US that these are our people. Can you just bring them back so that we take care of them? While the various political leaders must emphasize to their people that there's nothing out there. You want to go out there, you go and suffer, and you're going to die, and you're going to make your dreams or aspirations. Why don't you stay here? Let's build this country together.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure having Mr. Bayo Olaoye. He is one whose experience will keep milking and milking and milking. I will say thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Remember, this is Africa. This is home. This is the farmland. This is where every other person come to tap from.
Africa is the future.
No matter how they try to destabilize you, no matter the information you have, businesses, we strive here. Businesses, we grow here.
Yes.
This is just that time where we need to put the work in. And remember, this is SOUQ Pulse. We do nothing other than positive programming on SOUQ News. We will be back tomorrow, wherever you are. If you have someone that you can't find, a lot of families can't find their loved ones, thanks to some gory migration routes that were taken via undocumented sources. If you have someone you can find, have that hope that tomorrow will be better. Reach out to any organization that is in this particular system of trying to find, help, assist migrants, whether be it here or be it outside. And let's look inwards. Let's look inwards. We are here to promote not just African businesses, relations. We're here to look at debt. We are here to look at Asia and see how can we learn, how can we benefit. And everything will be well as long as we work. And remember, we always say here, don't keep quiet. My name is John-Rogers Chuks. See you tomorrow.
Sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to SOUQ News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, SOUQ News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. SOUQ News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, SOUQ News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding.